Hello.
Welcome back, everyone, to Facebook and to YouTube. Andy here from Jurassic HR. And joining me, I suppose, how often do you get called the doctor with the name
Uh,
Matt Smith?
Too often, too often. Sadly, I don't have the money or the career, but it's nice to be recognised anyway.
If you hadn't guessed, it's Matt Smith from the Weldmar Hospicecare, one of the charities that we are supporting this Wednesday, 2 days away, on Quiz Night Live. Matt, pleasure to have you here. Now, I wanted to bring you on really so we could talk about the work that Weldmar does, because since March of 2020, things kind of turned on their head a little bit with the pandemic. For the national viewers and those that are not from Dorset, explain a bit more about Weldmar and your operation.
Yeah, so there's lots of hospices across the UK, so hopefully people will be familiar with their local hospice care provider. And it gives you a bit of an idea of the kind of care that we provide. So all hospices have a lot in common, but also are bespoke to their areas. So for example, down here in Dorset, it's a very rural area. So we cover those villages, those hamlets, those towns that really are quite rural and not connected to anything else at all. So that really can make our work much more complex than some other hospices in other areas of the UK. But basically, we are the hospice care provider for the county. And we care for patients with life-limiting illnesses, predominantly in the last 12 months of their life. So it can be more, can be less, but predominantly we try and support patients in that last 12 months of their life. So it can be patients with cancer. That's often the patients that we see most. But we also care for patients with people like motor neuron disease. So we are the specialists in the county for motor neuron disease. Things like Parkinson's and things like that actually deteriorate quite quickly for people. We are there to support them. So we do this in various ways in the community. So we have a team of Weldmar community nurses who go into patients' own homes and support them there. We have our inpatient unit in Dorchester. So that's a bedded unit where people stay for 24-hour care. And then we have other support services like a family support team that support those loved ones and those who are going through a bereavement, for example. We do things like complementary therapies, things like massage and other treatments to help the patient relax and feel at ease. And then we have a fantastic team of doctors, nurses, and all those professionals that you would expect to be in a place like this, really making sure that patients are treated with dignity and respect and are as comfortable as possible in their last months, weeks, or days.
So talk to us about COVID-19, because we all know today's the 22nd. The Prime Minister is currently, as we're recording this, unveiling his plan for release of lockdown. How has COVID really affected you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's had an absolutely massive impact on us. So there's two sides of it, really. I mean, one is a financial impact, and another is an impact on our care. So I'll start with the financial bit to begin with. We rely on so 21% of our income is provided by the NHS. For the rest of it, we need to raise ourselves. So it works out at about £18,000 every single day we need to raise as an independent charity. Now, we do that in a couple of ways. So the first way we do that is via our charity shops, which do fantastically for us. It's a great flagship for us on the high street, but it's also a great way for us to raise funds for the charity. Now, of course, we're non-essential retail, so we've had to close our shops for a long, long time over the last 12 months, on and off and on and off, and our teams have been amazing with it, but it has, taken its toll from an income perspective, but also from a fundraising perspective. So we have a lot of popular events that are very well supported across the county. We haven't been able to hold any events since January 2020. So, we're into month 13 now of no events or activities. And again, those events raise, in excess of £3 million for us. So, not having been able to do any of that has had a massive impact on us. Now, fortunately, we have had some support from the furlough scheme, that we've been able to furlough some of our retail staff, and the government have given us some support. But actually, there's a long way still to go to be able to provide our services. There's a big gap there every single day. And I think the other side of that then is the care. So we're in a position where our income is rock bottom. We're not able to raise the money via our necessary and regular income streams. However, the demand for our care is increasing. So week on week, we're seeing more and more patients who need our care. They want our care. We're very, very lucky that we have a respected brand within the county. People really respect the care that we provide. It's very bespoke, it's very tailored, very individualized for each and every patient. And people want that care right now. And it's been really difficult for us because we have seen a dramatic increase for our services. For example, in the community alone, we've seen an 83% increase in people wanting to have that support in the community. Now, that's massive for us, because we've got to make sure that we can support those patients where they want that care, but making sure as well that we can keep our staff safe, do it in a COVID secure way, but make sure that patients are not missing out. So, the last 12 months for us have seen a dramatic increase in demand for our services, but we are extremely proud that we've been able to keep all of our services open over the last 12 months and also meet that demand as well, which has just been an amazing journey, but how we've done it, I don't quite know, but it's been amazing.
I think that's just a massive round of applause for you and your team. That's incredible to hear. I mean, without trying to dwell on the negative side of it, if things don't improve, how long can you continue to operate at the level that you're operating at now?
And I think it's a really good question, because I think, last year we didn't know what was coming. We didn't, we couldn't prepare for it. And we kind of were in fight, flight or fight mode. We were kind of in that position where we've just got to get through this week and then we'll look at next week. Now we're presented with a position where we know what this year is going to be like, roughly. As you said, things might change with government restrictions and other things, but we roughly know how this year is going to pan out. And it is going to be an exceptionally challenging year for us as an organisation, both financially and because of the increased demand for our services. It's really tricky because you ultimately you're presented with two options, and that is we don't meet that increased demand that is there, but that means that patients won't get the care that they need. So we can only care for the current patients we're currently caring for. Or the other option is we say we will meet that increased demand, but we have to really cut some of the other services that are available. And the issue we've got with both is it is vital that we continue to do both. So it sounds a little bit greedy from our perspective, but actually this is all about the patient. We need to support more patients, and we need to provide the care that they absolutely want and need. So, we're looking at all our budgets at the moment and looking what this year might look like. Who knows? It's a complete guess. But we're really hoping that by kind of autumn maybe of this year, we might be able to get some of our events back up and running again. Hopefully by late spring we can get some of our shops open again, which will be great. But that's why it's really important that things like this quiz and other things, where there are means of raising money, we are out there doing it, and people can support where they can, because I don't think, that the saying that you don't realize what you've got until it's gone genuinely is true with a lot of organizations at the moment. There's some great charities and great organizations out there that people don't necessarily know about until they need to use it. However, when they're gone, they're gone. They're very expensive services for people like the NHS to soak up, which they just simply will not be able to do.
And I think the one thing that COVID, the pandemic, has shown all of us is how important family is. And I think, since March, since being in lockdown, since, realizing that you can't go and see your loved ones or go and give your great granny a hug or whatever, that rings true for us as well as for you guys. And care in the community and care for our family is of paramount importance. So, I wanted to do this quiz for the three charities that we've chosen for one reason, and that was to give back. I'm Weymouth, I'm Dorset based. I've lived here since '87. You can't not turn around the corner and hear about the great work that Weldmar does. And just like you said at the beginning, that goes across the country for any of the local hospice cares, up and down the length and breadth of the UK. Cancer research, again, 1 in 8 people have been affected by cancer at some point, whether or not that's themselves or a family member or a friend. The Stroke Association as well. My father had 17 strokes and passed away because of one. So that was a no-brainer. But I think the common goal that's coming out of this is, if we do not club together and support all of you guys, then the services that we've got won't be here anymore. And that's a really upsetting thing to kind of put out there. And that really struck home when I was doing the prep for this and speaking to you and your team and the guys at Cancer Research and Stroke Association. Is, you think the big boys are okay, but they're not. And if it's hard for the big boys, it's got to be even harder for the local county established charities.
And I think it's really difficult as well because, there's, we have, our doctors and our nurses and our healthcare professionals have played such a key role in the last 12 months through this pandemic. We've supported the NHS, when we've needed to accept some of their patients, we've done that. We've really made sure that we can still provide the level of care that people need, whilst also dealing with this pandemic and supporting those patients as well, and supporting our other healthcare colleagues and other organizations. But it gets to the point, like, now and over the next coming months, where we really need to think about, what does the future of Weldmar look like? We've been very proud to be able to be here for the last 12 months to support those other colleagues, but we've also got to think about what this service will look like for future patients. So not necessarily the ones who are being cared for by us now, but for generations to come, in 10, 20, 30 years, we still want to be here providing this care. And we need people to be here for us now to enable us to provide that care in 20, 30 years' time for our children, our grandchildren, and people like that.
And it carries on. I mean, you've raised some really good points there, and you've obviously talked about the patient care that you put out and how they have managed during the COVID era. How are your staff, how are your frontline workers coping? I mean, because it must be, it's been hard for you, me, and my wife, and everybody else out there, watching this now. But for frontline, it must have been terrible.
Yeah, and it was almost like a switch. We've been very much an organization where we have free visiting restrictions. People can come in anytime, day or night, any amount of people. We have no restrictions on that. Our nurses are all about the smile. They're all about having laughter with our patients and making them feel at ease and feel comfortable. And overnight, the switch went on and we had to change that. So our nurses are in full PPE, which is something that we have never experienced. We do it if we've got a patient who may have an infection or something, but actually for our nurses to have their faces covered and for the patients to not see them smiling or laughing or knowing what that expression is, really has taken its toll on our staff. And I think, we've been able to allow visitors throughout all of this, which is quite a rarity to some places. We've done it very cautiously, but it means we have had to have restrictions that we've never had to have before. And that's been really, really difficult for our doctors and our nurses, and to really have those conversations with people when their loved one is dying and we can only have so many people on site at any one time. That's really, really difficult. I think it's fair to say that, on one hand, our team were absolutely amazing. I mean, they didn't moan about it. They got on with it. They said, this is what we've got to do to keep our services going. We will absolutely do it. And they have been phenomenal. An absolute credit to them. They've just been the best team that you can ask for. But we're 12 months on now, and it is tough. We've put a lot of thought into the well-being of our staff, and we've changed several things to make sure that they're supported as best as they can be. But 12 months on, it takes its toll. And I think everybody watching this can't wait for the day where we can, go out without a face mask on and we can, hug our loved ones and everything else. Yeah. But I think, when we bring it down to people like doctors and nurses, they are doing this all day, every day, and then also going home and not being able to have that normal life that we were all used to. So they have been absolutely incredible, but it's really important now that we start thinking about, how are we going to come out of this? How are we going to gradually and safely bring those things back so more visitors can be on site, and
Yeah.
patients can see those nurses laugh and smile with them again, because when the patient's in their last days, those are really important things that we need to make sure we can continue over the coming weeks and months. So yeah, they've been a fantastic team. They really have.
They truly are a credit to you and to your organization, and my heart goes out to them for what they've been through. How have the patients adapted to it? Because as you said, I mean, this is end of life care. This isn't a weekend at Bernie's. This is, you're coming in. Unfortunately, you're not going to be coming out again. To not be able to see their loved ones and families, how have they been able to adapt? How have they managed?
Yeah, it's been really tricky. So we have those conversations. So normally patients are with our community nurses before they come into the inpatient unit, and the community nurse may have been supporting them for 12 months or more at home. So we have those conversations initially. So we've been very open and honest with our patients, and we have said you will still be allowed visitors, but it will not be like it normally would be. So,
Yeah.
and it won't be like it is when you're at home. Where you can have 8 or 10 family members around you. We cannot accommodate that at the moment. So we've made it really clear for the patients from the outset, but we've also been very flexible and adaptable to patient situations. So if a patient really is in their last days or hours, we have been able to be flexible with them, and enable them to have relatives there with them. So they still might not be able to have all their relatives there at once. It might be they can only have 1 or 2 people with them, but actually we may be able to accommodate if they've got children, for example. We've been able to allow the young children to come in and say their goodbyes, and I think that's been one of the trickiest things for our staff. Actually, is normally it is not unusual that you would walk around the hospice and you would see a family in a room and there'd be 10 or 12 of them. That would not be an unusual sight in the hospice. We haven't been able to have that for 12 months. And I think it almost feels like a bit of a, you come in and you now have your slot to come and visit someone. And that's been really, really tricky. But it's the only way that we can keep our patients and our staff safe. And ultimately, the only way we've been enabled to continue our services for throughout the pandemic. So it has been difficult, but the patients have been really understanding. And as I said, we've had those conversations from the outset, so they know what to expect. And they have been really supportive of it, which has just been great, because it's helped make it a little bit easier for
Yeah.
our nurses to have those conversations.
What would you like to say to anyone watching now who, might be on the fence about whether or not to donate or whatever? And we appreciate, Matt, I'm sure you'll agree that times are tough for everybody out there. And, if you can donate £1 or £5, amazing. But we appreciate you can't as well. What would you like to say to the viewers out there?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I think the first thing is a massive thank you to everybody who has supported us over the last 12 months. Genuinely, 12 months ago, we did not know how this year would pan out, and we did not know whether we would be able to continue our services. The fact that people have stood by us and they have said, "Do you know what, we're going to financially support you through this," has made an exceptional difference. Without them, we would not be here having this conversation right now. So I think the first thing is a massive thank you to all of those. I think the second part of that is we've still got a long way to go. So, no matter whatever the Prime Minister announces today or over the coming weeks, we've still got a long way to go as a charity to ensure that we're still here for those generations to come. I think it's really important that people realise that it's not always about writing a big check and saying, "I want to give money now, here's a big check." It's not always about that. It's about doing whatever is in your power. For some people, it's doing quizzes like this. For other people, it might be making a single donation or setting up a more affordable monthly donation, £4 a month, for example, or thinking, "Do you know what, when the summer comes around, I'm going to do a cake sale in the middle of the town and I'm going to raise money for the hospice." No matter what it is that people do, we can all do something. And we appreciate that some people just are concerned about their job security and other things like that. We absolutely get that, and you've got to put yourself as a priority. However, when you feel ready or able to support us, we would absolutely welcome your support, because this is not going to be over in a week. this time next year, we will still be thinking about what the impact of COVID is going to have on the organization. So over the next coming months, years, whatever it might be, if people can support us in whatever way they feel they can, donating to our shops or whatever, we really, really will appreciate it. It'll enable us to continue our services and care for even more patients who need us right now. So, you know, that's all I say. It's not about the biggest check. It's about us all just doing something that we feel comfortable and able to do.
I think, to put it into perspective, if we could all put £1 in and have a bit of a laugh on the quiz, then we all win out of that. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you for the time that we have, and to talk more about the great work that you guys do at Weldmar. On behalf of all of us in Dorset, thank you for everything that you and your teams do. I know it's appreciated. My family, or my extended family, have used Weldmar in the past. I've got friends and family, friends from down here across the county that have used Weldmar. We also know that famous celebrities are patrons. Martin Clunes is the big one for you guys. And on behalf of all of us, thank you. And thank you to your staff. Thank you to your amazing volunteers. And let's get you a good result on Wednesday night on Quiz Night Live. I think it's hopefully it'll be the first of many, and we'll do more and help to raise more for Weldmar.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your support, Andy. It's genuinely, truly appreciated.
No, it's you know what, it's someone messaged me the other day and they went, you've had an echo piece and all this type of thing. It's all about you. And you know what? It's absolutely not. It's not about me. I'm not even on camera. It's about everybody supporting the work that your teams, cancer research, all the charities out there are doing in this time. Now, if you would like to donation website is open now. It's at justgiving.com. Search for justgiving.com/Quiz Night Live Weldmar. If you go to that is the dedicated Weldmar page, and you can donate directly into that. Links will be on screen momentarily and also in the narrative for this. Throughout Wednesday night, Quiz Night Live, we will be putting those donation links up on screen so you can see them, plus live interactive comments from YouTube and Facebook throughout. Matt, will you be there? Who is expected to win out of your teams?
Well, yes, I will be there. I have to say, I am not very good at quizzes. I'm rubbish at them. However, our finance director, Dean, he's very competitive, and I'm sure he will be messaging me, telling me that he's way ahead of me on the scores. So he'll certainly be there. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of trivia for Mr. Dean, Mr. Daniels. I've known Dean since we were 18, I think. We went to college together in Poole. I know how competitive he is, and I have made sure that there are some questions there that are going to stump Mr. Daniels. So he
I like to hear
this. I got your number, Dean. I'm coming for you, mate. Matt, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you on Wednesday night at Quiz Night Live. To everybody, 8 o'clock is when the stream will go live. First question at 8:15. I can now tell you what the rounds are going to be. So round 1 will be entertainment. Matt has seen a couple of questions already. Doesn't know the answers, but seen a couple of questions. Round 2 will be a dedicated food and drink round. Round 3 will be connections. Round 4 will be something very special, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. And then round 5 is general knowledge. 10 questions per round, 50 questions in total. Let's have a laugh, guys. Let's do it. Quiz Night Live, February the 24th, this Wednesday, 8 o'clock. I'll be there. Matt will be there. The teams will be there. Let's do it. Let's raise some money. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for that, Matt. I hope that was okay.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Andy. That's